but the mistake they do is they hire people and then tell them what to do. They'll hire a salesperson and say, hey, this is how you got to sell it.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, we have Srikant Rachakonda, who is the founder and CEO of Cyber Compliance Simplified, a company specializing in automated compliance solutions for cybersecurity. With extensive experience in the industry, Srikant has been instrumental in developing innovative tools that simplify the compliance processes for organizations of all different sizes, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Welcome to the program, Srikant. It's great to have you here.
Same here. Thanks for having me on.
So to get things started, I would love to kind of dive a little bit into your history, where you came from, and how you found yourself the CEO of Cyber Compliance.
Oh yeah. So simple C is just like it's a culmination of a big journey. I actually came from India in like around '96 to do my master's, and then I worked in Fortune 100 companies, and then started somehow gravitating towards like smart like startups and new technologies and new innovations that are happening in the tech industry. So I was always drawn towards that. And then while I was part and parcel of a few startups, I got the idea of Simple C from the mere fact that it takes companies a lot of time and effort and basically, frankly, a lot of capital because they don't have the cyber expertise to do a certain, make sure the company is at a compliance standard that is necessary. And one of the ones that stood out to me was this new, I guess I would say like a mandate and a rule that's coming out from the DoD, and it's called CMMC, or Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. And that applies to everybody in the defense industrial base. And that is going to be a game changer, because this is the first time that any public entity as big as DoD or Department of Defense is actually implementing cyber standards across their constituents who want to work with the DoD. So then I looked at that and I went, hey, didn't we have some similar confusion when how internet came in and there was tax software that was being written before that? Most of tax preparation was forms and your CPA and did a lot of that work. And you basically had to pay through the nose to actually, get it done. But now tax software does it for you for a fraction of the cost. So I'm like, so we took that concept and we said, hey, how do we make that just as effective for, and CMMC is a beast of a framework because there's a lot of activities that you have to do and also substantiate that with evidence. So how do we simplify the process for everybody? At the same time, be able to, impact at a much bigger scale than the 10, 20 people that most of the CMMC experts can only, hope to achieve, So take the specialization of CMMC and then make it so, easy to follow that anybody can do portions of it, and then tie it back with a human, which is the CMMC specialist, to make sure it's being done. So that was the problem that we're trying to solve. We're not trying to solve for 10, 15, 20, 100 customers. We're looking at thousands of customers at this time. So it's a pretty daunting endeavor, but at the same time, it's kind of fun. So that's probably, I would say, my journey is based on problem solving and logic and things like that. Like that excites me more than technology and more than those things. What excites me is solving it for a customer problem. So, and here we are.
Yeah, I would observe that a lot of the success, I guess, comes from having all that hard work and being in the industry and working for all these
Yeah.
companies, and then finding that integral opportunity and just capitalizing on that. I think that's really interesting that You were right place, right time, and it kind of paid off to have the experience that you did. When it comes to, I imagine now because it's like a DoD enforcement, I imagine that
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of people that are behind the gun here wondering like, what do we do to get compliant? And so uh that probably poses a challenge with an influx of people kind of reaching out and looking for services or solutions to that problem.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that wave of that initial kind of customer
Yeah.
base?
And that's a great question actually, because there was so CMMC and fortunately or unfortunately started it a long time ago actually. So DoD always had these requirements, but they never enforced them. So essentially, what they're saying now is if you're not at a certain level of compliance, you actually cannot bid on contracts. So they tied it to contracts. So imagine companies who've been doing work for the DoD or like building a widget for a widget, let's just say, right? So that Raytheon has this $10 billion contract, and then these guys have to provide like a small part. They can't anymore if they're not cyber compliant. So your a lot of innovation comes from the fact that you have small businesses that contribute towards the bigger cause. There's a
Right.
reason why we can produce like a squadron of F-16s in a year versus any other country in the world, because we have that kind of infrastructure and that kind of companies that can do that. But data is key right now, and you're losing the if you lose that edge, then obviously it is tough. So DoD has made it very, very clear, it's on you to be compliant, to be if you want to leverage the fruits of your labor basically.
Right.
So that actually, yeah, so what that did is, and you put that against the fact that cybersecurity has always been extremely what's the word for it? Like services focused. Like there's a very few individuals, they look at cybersecurity like I mean, this is like you see it, every Hollywood movie. Like it's like the cybersecurity specialist always wears thick glasses. He's probably in the basement somewhere hacking away at a computer. But that's not reality, because it's not reality because that's not where growth happens for any industry, right? So the revolution of any industry happens when it's out in the open, and it's made accessible for everybody. Anybody should be able to do certain things, not everything, certain things. So that was the way we are approaching this huge problem. And of course, and we're talking about 300,000 companies needing to be certified at a certain point of time, starting in 2025. So the daunting task, the way we want to approach that is to say, hey, we leverage actually uh, Gen AI. Basically, our LLMs actually have ingested most of the or all of the NIST unstructured data that's out there. And this CMMC is based on the NIST 800-171 guidelines anyway. So we use that data to kind of allow any user to be able to ask our AI chatbot for clarity, education, uh, some sort of next steps, and then basically automate some of the manual processes that are part of it. Like you got to build like a security plan. You got to build a poem that actually identifies all the gaps that you need to fulfill. You need to have reports. You need to have log data that you need to know what to collect. To be able to get a third party assessor to validate that what you're doing is actually certifiable and you are at a certain level, if you will, in the CMMC, pantheon of things. So that's how we want to solve for this. The influx of people that will come in once the rule goes live is like everybody is like confused about where to start. We say, hey, use our platform, use our software, you go step by step through it, and then we will probably build with you. And then at some point you will need a a third party human to actually validate what you're doing, so that once you submit it, it's almost like, again, back to the tax software, it's almost submitting to the IRS. You don't want to be audited after. You basically want to
Right.
make sure it's correct at the same time. So that's how we are treating, or we're trying to kind of get this done.
Yeah, that's really cool that automation and self-service
Yeah,
to kind of qualify, identify, and sort the
yeah,
people that are coming into your business. I think that's a really powerful way to streamline the efficiency. And then on the other side, now we have the manual processes of actually taking now this new data, turning it into
hmm,
something actionable, creating a
yep,
plan, and then
yep.
implementing that plan. How does that affect your team in terms of having too much work on their plate or not enough work on their plate, or how do you kind of balance that in terms of keeping your team working?
Yeah. Are you asking from a simple C perspective, or from the defense contractors mindset? Like, where are you
From
coming
this from the simple C perspective.
from? Perspective. Yeah, yeah. So we are pretty lean organization. So we have our software, is maintained by a team of engineers, but it's not. So we actually get customer feedback on a regular basis, and we incorporate that either through we obviously, if it's a bug that we need to fix, that's a straightforward thing. But we also have a very we are very agile minded, in the sense that we have a roadmap of activities that we have planned for every sprint, and we have where we need to go from a platform perspective, and it ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes you need to put more emphasis on securing the data, because that is, because as we add customers onto our platform, we need to make sure that their data is extremely secured, because some of this data is important for them. And then at the same time, we want to be able to leverage the fruits of the data collectively, from an AI perspective, and because we want to able to help other companies leverage the fruits of labor from across the community. So think of it more as a crowdsourcing way of saying, hey, companies in your type of space, or the size of your company, have been doing this and this. We see that you didn't do that. Take a look at that. That's a very powerful way of making sure that collectively the whole defense industrial base is getting more secure, over time. So we do that, but we also have like a very close knit connection with our users, in the sense that we have a customer success, people who have constant touch points with them. Our basic motto is that we want to make sure we are building something that people are using. A lot of times, and you see this all the time in like people, like companies build products and assume that somebody is going to use them, right? So here what we are asking for is, hey, do you think this is a good idea? We might get that ask from a particular company, but that might be unique for that company. You know what I mean? So we don't want to build something that's just a single point of use. So we always do a lot of A/B testing and things like that to make sure we are only building what is necessary, and prioritize and ruthlessly prioritizing it. So sometimes it's it might be a great idea, but if it's not intuitive enough, and people don't get it right out, you have to train them on it. There's really something has to be done to simplify that as well. So that's how we kind of minimize rework, minimize tech debt. Like these are things that you learn from, like I've been in software industry for the last 30 years, so I've always learned those things. And our CTO is he's built uh, like enterprise applications for and very data centric applications for like Fortune 100 companies. So we have that mindset always. and you don't want to build something that it has to be fixed every every quarter as well. So
Well, that in and of itself is a challenge because
yes,
the very nature of technology, software, even the hardware itself evolves so quickly
yep,
at a moment's notice without anybody being aware of it because every company wants to be the innovative, on the cutting
yes.
edge of what they're doing. So I wonder, with all these moving parts and a moving target, how are you measuring success both for the business but then for the customer as well to make sure that you're doing a good job? I
Yeah,
get that you've created some feedback loops, but I'd love to
sure.
get a little closer, zoom in on that idea.
Yeah, so fundamentally, at Simple C, we have a very clear thought process. One is we want a data-driven architecture and a data-driven way of implementing new functionalities, right? That's that because data is not going to be emotional. So, I might think it's a great idea, but if nobody is using it, then it's really not a good idea. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's like I can't take it personally, right? So that's one very very clear way of handling that. The second part is to your point, it changes all the time. So not being married to a particular type of what do you call it, like uh, language or things like that is probably key, right? Like, but you want to be able to have your core services in a built in a way that can be easily mirrored in other languages and things like that, if you will, right, if needed. But at the same time, if you're mostly like using low code no code kind of thought process, then you're actually implementing areas where it's less driven by the um, uh, type of language or type of like whatever's the flavor of the month at that point in time. So I mean, like Python could be great today, but something else would come tomorrow. But you should be able to translate the logic much more effectively. So that actually is more powerful, I feel, over time.
Right. So when it comes to finding the people that you want to serve and then qualifying them and kind of bringing them into your ecosystem, what sorts of tools and technology do you deploy to get new customers to come and patronize your business?
Oh, like basically like lead gen kind of things, or
Exactly. Like, is this because it's a government thing? You just, inside of the network, the network comes to you, or do you got to do like Facebook ads to get people to notice you? Like, what's the angle?
it's an interesting question because it is a niche market, right? So
Hmm.
and selling to the government is a completely different beast, right? There are a lot of companies who are very successful in the commercial world, but when they try to pivot to government sector, they just fall flat on that because it's a completely different way of selling business, right?
Yeah.
So we have our CRO is very versatile in that regard. Like she's a serial entrepreneur. Jody is her name. She actually comes from where she taken these marketing agencies through, and she actually was one of the like she worked with Microsoft and all during few years, like decades ago. So her thought process has been like finding channels that are basically help you kind of what's a word, like what, like more educational, if you will. Like we don't go in with a sale in mind. We go in with the idea that, hey, this is what is going to impact you if you don't do it. How can we help you reduce that burden, kind of thing. And it could be through government agencies who are also looking to help. Their it could be state agencies, like things like that are out there, right? And they don't have the necessary know-how to educate the community, right? So we go with that mindset first, and then there's a lot of just the way government agencies work. It's more of It's more of who do you know, who knows who kind of thing. And you got to find those connections. You got to make those personal connections. You should be able to empathize with their problem, and you should be able to um, um, kind of put yourself in their shoes, and then understand where their issues are. So for some, it could be capital money, as in it's not budgeted. For some, it could be personal, where they don't have that knowledge. So for some, it could be lack of understanding. Like you got to empathize with their current situation, and then market it accordingly. Surprisingly, LinkedIn works best for us at the moment. We are exploring Google and things like that, but I come back to that. It's just, I think it's mostly the personal relationship. If you understand them, and if you present something which helps their cause, like for some, we just talk about pure automation and saving time. It's like that's enough. They don't care about AI, like you know what I mean. Like they don't care about certain things, and if we come in, like, this is what commercial people do, or fall, is like they say, oh, we have the coolest tech. Nobody cares, as long as it doesn't, if it doesn't solve their problem, nobody cares. So we need to go with that mindset. It's to, yes, we have the cool tech, but the cool tech helps you this way, and this is how much you can do with it, and then this is what's left. Like if you help them through that journey, I think that's more successful. And that's kind of some of the things that we implement. We work very closely with a lot of government agencies and like partners. Most of it referral networks, kind of things. Like most of it is that. You just can't go in and say we are the Facebook, and now you have to use it. Like it just doesn't happen.
Right, right. It sounds to me like networking, referrals, and that personal relationships are really important in terms of um, establishing the right connections, and then
Yes,
working with those people in a way that makes sense to them versus just kind of broadcasting a message out to the world and hoping the right people find you. So it's
exactly.
very, very intentional. Is that obviously that's by design? So how do you empower your team to be able to do the personal work that's necessary to build these kinds of relationships?
Great. Yeah, no, that is an interesting and like it's a good question. I think a lot of founders assume that they, you know, uh, and most of them are successful. That's why they've actually founded companies, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they're very, very extremely smart people, um, me excluding. I don't consider myself,
Srikant's a
but
very humble man.
no, like it's honestly that's like they go in with that. Hey, they have a very clear vision. They think they have ideas about everything, and you got to be, as a founder, you got to wear multiple hats. But the mistake they do is they hire people and then tell them what to do. They'll hire a salesperson and say, hey, this is how you got to sell it. It just defeats the whole purpose, right? Like, so
Mm.
the way you've got to, the way I think about and way I empower my team is I've hired the person for a cause, right? Like whatever it is, it could be technical, it could be sales, it could be marketing, doesn't matter. And I have to trust them to do it their way. Now, their way and my way might be polar opposites, might have some overlap, might be, it's just completely different. But what I and that person need to work on is what are the objectives? How do we measure those objectives? That's it, right? And then I try to stay away from them. Now, uh, as a CEO, and I would think the only job that I have, other than staying away from people's paths, is 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 to give them the necessary capital and tools to do their job, right? Like so if somebody says, hey, I need $20,000 to do X, Y, and Z because I think that'll generate these many leads, whatever the case might be, and it's on me to provide that. So I am always the the obstacle remover from them achieving their goals, right? Like that's how I look at it now. uh, and this is the nerd in me, right? Like, so if you, I don't know if you watch Star Trek, quite, like, so whenever somebody fires at USS Enterprise, the first thing that happens is that shield comes through, right? That's me. Like, I have to
Ah,
protect my team by being the shield. So whatever, like, that obstacle is, it could be money, it could be tools, it could be, whatever, another person, right? Like, kind of thing. We should be able to, like, I deflect that first, and then so I should be able to take that and then figure out a way to empower my team to do better. I can't, but of course this is a startup, so we have all these, there are certain levers we can pull, certain levers we cannot. So setting that expectation and having that thought process clear is, I think, the fundamental way of handling what you said.
well, and you mentioned that there's only some levers I have and some levers I can't, and
Yeah.
to be the shield for the team, to help
Well,
pave the way, to kind of give the guidance, the tools, the resources, all that's really important, especially for big goals. And
Mhm.
in that line, I guess what's on the horizon? What are you aiming at? What's the big thing? Where are you going with the company? What's in store
Yeah.
for you in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking to raise significant capital from as a priced round, in by before the end of this year.
Mhm.
So we have proven the product. We have shown where it can be effective. We have customer traction. Now it's a matter of how do we take the traction from, we have about a handful of customers, right, to hundreds, and then later thousands of customers. How do we hit that hockey stick, basically, right? And for that you need capital. And then so we have a plan of action for how we can spend that, which is, and then have an exit strategy for, hey, if we hit these milestones, then we are there. If we don't hit them, then this is plan B. Like, having that clear thought process as to when to pivot, how to pivot, why to pivot. Like, those are the things we are working on right now to showcase to our VCs, who are interested, is to, there is, a method to our madness. There is, tangible data that we can provide. Nobody can predict the future, because if that was the case, I would have invested in Nvidia like 20 years
So to kind of in
ago.
closing here to kind of wrap things up, the big goals, there's a lot of work that is to be done. Um, I'm sure challenges and hurdles that are going to be difficult, but it seems to me like you're very resourceful, very resilient. You have everything that you need to kind of pull things together and make that work. And that's admirable, and I hope much success on that journey because there's a need for the thing that you're doing, and for anybody that simplifies a very complex thing, that's even more important. So, um, on that note, I would love to get from you just in closing here, if you could, for somebody who's in a similar role as you, who's facing similar challenges when it comes to growing their business, if you had a single piece of advice to offer that person, what would that advice be, Srikant?
Yeah, I think patience. You got to believe in your idea and your goal, and the patience to execute it. What I mean by that is, you'll be pulled in 1,000 directions on a daily basis, and then all thousand seem like necessary at one point. But you should be in a position to have the patience and the forethought to say, hey, this is more important today, and let me do this. And one of the main things I always emphasize to not just my team, but anybody who's willing to hear me, is always have a North Star that guides you, like, right? And could be that could be the reason you founded the company, or that could be the reason that you change directions, because things happen all the time. But always have a very clear North Star that you are guiding yourself and your team towards, right? Uh, because otherwise, you will always, you'll always lose sight of why you're doing it. And I always say, do not put revenue as your North Star, because that is the sure way of losing sight of values, what you stand for, the idea itself. Money, it will come as a what's the word for it, like as a byproduct of doing things right. It'll always come, because this is America is there's a reason why this is the most capitalistic country in the world, and B, the most successful country in the world, because money will always come if you do things the right way. That's what is I think any entrepreneur should be thinking about. Solve a problem. Help your customer. Make them your most important other than kids, most important person in your life. That I think is the advice I would give.
Yeah, having a purpose behind what you do allows you to refuel when there seems to be no fuel left in the tank to
Yes.
keep moving forward. I love that that's a
Well,
cornerstone to the work that you're doing, Srikant. You've been very generous with your time and your wisdom, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm sure the listeners will be as well. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, perhaps to pick your brain further or work with you in some capacity, how would one go about doing that?
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Srikant Rachakonda. There's a few of us, but you can probably find me. And my email is Srikant at simple-c.com. So SRIKANT at the rate SMPL-C.com. And our website is simple-c.com. So anyway.
Very accessible. That's good. We'll make sure to link to all that stuff in the show notes so that if somebody does want to get in touch with you, they can. I guess that's it for this episode. If anybody wants to get in touch with me and my team for any reason, it's nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it. And I will see you in the next episode.